lovelies, I'm back with another video. This is part 1 of a part 2 video, and I'm showing you the colors that I was deciding to get from Michaels to create these pins that we're about to get into, and these are the crochet hooks that I will be using throughout this video. So we're going to start off with the regular heart granny square. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how I made all of my squares for my pins. So this video is just for the squares, and I'm going to be starting off with the regular heart granny square that y'all have seen already. If y'all watched my granny square pins that I made for the first time, we're going to start off with the 5mm hook, and I'm going to make a magic ring because we're going to start off by making the heart. Once you make your magic ring, you're going to chain up 3. This is going to act as your first double crochet. Now we're going to chain over 1 time, and we're going to work our way into the magic ring. We're going to pull up a yarn. We should have 3 yarns on our loop. Pull up again, pull through 2, pull through 2. We're going to do that again. This is what we call a double crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 3 double crochets back into the magic ring. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 2. Now 1 more, and we're gonna chain 2. We're gonna do this 2 more times. Work 3 double crochets into the magic ring, chain 2, then another 3 more double crochets into the magic ring, chain 2. So now, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 1, 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and now it's time to close up our circle, our magic ring, and we're going to go in the middle of our chain 3 and double crochet. Right in there, we're going to work a slip stitch. Yep, right in between those 2. We're going to work a slip stitch. Then we're going to go on the top of that middle double crochet. Right, we have our chain 3, we have that middle double crochet, and we have our 3rd double crochet. We're going to go into that middle one and work a slip stitch again. Then we're going to chain 1 and work 8 double crochets into our chain 2 spot right there. We're going to work 8 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we have 8 double crochets worked into that corner piece, that chain 2 space, and we're counting to make sure we have 8. And once we have 8, we're going to go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to go to our next corner space and put a single crochet, chain 1, and then we're looking for the middle double crochet. So the second double crochet, you see we have 1, 2, 3. We're looking for that second one, and we're going to work 2 single crochets, chain 1, 2 single crochets into that middle stitch. Chain 1, work 2 single crochets back into that same stitch. Then we're going to chain 1 and go to our corner space, our chain 2, and we're going to work a single crochet and chain 1. Then we're going to go ahead to our corner space, last corner space, and we're going to work 8 double crochets in there. Now that we worked 8 double crochets in there, we're going to count to make sure we have all 8, and I do. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work right into that middle piece. Right there, right into that middle piece, we're going to make a slip stitch. Then we're going to chain over, chain 1. And we're done. Cut our yarn, fasten off, pull that through. Now we're going to go ahead and weave in all our ends. Take our darning needle and weave in all our ends. So now that we made the heart, it's time to make the regular granny square. And we're going to start with the tip, that point of the heart. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch, so fasten on our yarn into that middle point. So we're going to work a single crochet into the back loop of the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to yarn over 2 times because we're going to work a triple crochet into the next stitch. So back loop, we're going to pull through once, pull through twice, and then pull through 3 times, chain 2, and work a double crochet into the next stitch. We're going to work into every single stitch of this heart, so we're not skipping a stitch, okay? So next stitch, half double crochet, and then to the following 4 stitches we're going to work single crochets. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to work 4 more single crochets into the next following 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to yarn over because we're going to get ready to do a half double crochet right into that middle spot. Right there, I'm about to show you. Right into that middle spot, we're going to do a half double crochet. Make sure you grab your yarn and pull it through. It may be a little snug, but we can definitely get it through. And do a half double crochet. Pull through all of those loops, all 3. Now we got to pull that half double crochet to the side because it's a stitch right there, baby. And we got to get into it. It's really hard to see, but if you tug that half double crochet over to the side, you're going to get it, and you don't want to miss it, because if you miss it, it's going to be off, because we have to work 4 more single crochets into each stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and this is going to be our 4th one, and we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and we're going to work 4 more single crochets into the following 4 stitches. And if you see me keep trying to hold it, I'm holding my yarn as I work. I'm working over it. Now we're going to work a half double crochet into the following stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, chain 2, a triple crochet. Make sure you yarn over twice. Remember, you need 3 loops on your hook. And we're going to go into the back loop, pull through 2, pull through 2 again, and pull through the last 2, and we're going to do a double crochet into the following stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, and in our last stitch we're going to do a single crochet. and we're going to fasten off by slip stitching into our slip stitch that we joined our color onto the heart with. Now I'm not going to cut my yarn yet. I'm going to join my next color, which is a white, and I hope y'all saw how I joined it. And we're going to chain up 2, and this is going to act as our first double crochet. Now the only reason why I chained up 2 is because how I joined it is going to act as my third chain. So we're working 2 more double crochets into that same spot. See, it's all worked into that same spot, that same stitch. Now I like to weave in my yarn into the back loops, just because with doing granny squares, your yarn is kind of hard for me to basically weave in the ends. So doing this just makes it easier for the ends not to weasel theirself out, wiggle their way out, and it's secure in the granny square, since the granny square does have holes. So I chained 1, and I'm going to work a corner. We will be doing this throughout all of the granny squares. This section here is going to be repetitive throughout all the granny squares. So how we work our corner is we do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So this is our third double crochet. We're going to chain 2 and work 3 more double crochets into that same spot. Now before I do that, I want to find the middle of my side pieces. So I count and I find the middle. So I count starting from where my chain 2 is. So after my chain 2, I count down until I reach the next chain 2, and that's how I find my middle spot. This will make it easier because we're going to place 3 double crochets into where we placed our stitch markers. So that middle spot, we're going to place 3 double crochets. So we have 1 more double crochet to put into that corner piece, and now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to go to where our stitch marker is, and we're going to work 3 double crochets into that stitch. So if you know how to do a granny square, this is very familiar, and this will be really easy now for you. So chain 1, and we're going to find our next corner space, which is our next chain 2. It's a little hard to see because it's a little tight, but it's there. And as you see, we're going to work 3 double crochets, a chain 2, and 3 double crochets into that spot. Chain 2, 3 double crochets. Once we finish our third double crochet, we're going to chain 1, and we're going to look for that half double crochet, and we're going to work 3 double crochets on the top of that half double crochet stitch. 3 double crochets all into that stitch, and then chain 1. And I didn't put a stitch marker there because that's easy to find. That's the only half double crochet stitch we have right there. So we're going to go ahead and work our corner. So we're going to find that chain 2. Again, it's a little tight, it's a little small to see, but it's there. And we're going to go work our corner, which you already know is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work 3 double crochets into that spot where our stitch marker is. So right into that stitch, 3 double crochets into that 1 stitch. Chain 1, and now we're going to work our corner. So you already know how to work the corner. Is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Then we're going to chain 1 and slip stitch into our top of the chain 3. We're going to chain 1 so we could tie off. So we'll cut our yarn, pull through, and we're gonna go to our next color, which was so hard for me to decide on. But for right now, I'm doing the whole tucking the yarn in just to speed up the process of me not having to do it with the next color.
So I have this red border going on. It was supposed to be this color for the border, but I'm not feeling it, so I took it out and put this red border on. But I'm also not feeling this. Like, I want it to have a red border, but I just don't want it to be this bold. So I'm thinking about making another white. So making this red white, and then probably doing a half double crochet around it, or a single crochet around it, and seeing how I like that. But I probably would have been done with a lot of squares if I'm still not trying to figure out the design aspect of it.
So I went to Michael's and I saw this brown, which I really liked, but I saw this Heartland Redwood color and I was like, yes, it's like a burgundy but red, more of a red than it is burgundy. And I was just like, yeah, this is it. It's like a muted red. I like this. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna work into one of the chain one spaces. So we're gonna start with a chain 3. Don't do what I'm doing. Chain 3 and then work 2 more double crochets into that spot, and then we're gonna chain 1 and work our corner, which you already know it's a 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and then we're going to chain 1 and work into our chain 1 space with 3 double crochets. Work 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, and then we're going to work into our corner with another corner, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So that is the pattern for the border. You're basically working a corner, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, a corner. That is the repeat. That is what you'll be doing. So as you see, I'm working 3 double crochets into that chain 1 space. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to work a corner, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and we're going to continue to do that until we're done. So now we're here at the finish line. We're on our last chain 1 space and we chained 1. We're going to work into that chain 3, top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch, and we're going to chain 1, cut our yarn, pull through because we're tying it off. We're done. We're done with our first granny square. We're going to weave in our ends. You can weave in your ends now. You can weave it in at the end, whatever works for you. I literally do both. Sometimes I do all my squares and then weave in my ends at the end, and then sometimes I don't. Anyways, that first granny square is done. We're going to go into the diamond one. Now, I thought I was recording when I started this one, but I was not. So I'm using a 5.5 millimeter, and I'm going to tell you that I did a slip stitch into that point part, then I chained 2 and did a single crochet into that same stitch where the point part is. Then in the next stitch I did a single crochet, in the next stitch I did a half double crochet, and now in the stitch I'm working right now I did a double crochet. So in the following stitch I'm going to do a double crochet. In the next stitch I'm going to do a double crochet. So a quick recap, we have our slip stitch with chain 2, single crochet in the same spot, then we have a single crochet, half double crochet, and 3 double crochets, a half double crochet, a single crochet, and then we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Then we're going to work 7 single crochets into the 7 following stitches. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we're going to prepare for a half double crochet, so we're going to yarn over and we're going to work right into that middle stitch. We're going to chain 2 because this is going to be our corner, and we're going to yarn over for another half double crochet right into that same middle stitch, right into that same stitch. Now again, we're gonna find that little piece way in the corner, push it back because we need to find that middle piece. Once we found that middle piece, that little piece, we're gonna go ahead and work a single crochet in there and then work 6 single crochets into the next following 6 stitches. Now we're going to chain 2 because we worked 7 single crochets. So we're going to chain 2, so 1, 2, and we're going to repeat the other side, which is 1 single crochet in the next stitch, half double crochet in the following stitch, double crochet in the following stitch. And remember, we're working the back loops only. Another double crochet into the next stitch, and another double crochet into the next stitch. Half double crochet into the next stitch, single crochet into the last stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch into the middle of that chain 2 space. Yarn over, done. Now we're going to bring in our next color, and here's when things get repetitive. So we're going to find our middle stitch, so we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So our 4th stitch is where we're going to put our stitch marker. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, put our stitch marker, because that's our middle stitch. 1, 2, 3, 4, put our stitch marker. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Find the 4th stitch, put our stitch marker. So into this chain 2 spot right here in the middle, we're going to work our 3 double crochets. So we're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to yarn over to start our double crochet right into that same spot, then another double crochet into that same spot, and we're going to chain 1 because we're only working half of our corner for right now. Now we're going to work 3 double crochets where we have our stitch marker. So in that 4th stitch down, we're going to work 3 double crochets. So this is our last double crochet in that spot. We're going to chain 1. We're going to find our corner, which is 2 chains, and we're going to work in there. It's small, so you're going to have to really find it, pay attention. And we're going to work a corner, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets right back into that same spot of our chain 2 space. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to work 3 double crochets into our stitch marker space. Now we're getting to another corner, and we're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets into our corner space, chain 1, and then right into our stitch marker we're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 1. Then we're going to get to our next corner, work 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. So you see, we're making progress. And then we're going to work 3 double crochets into our stitch marker. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to finish our corner by working 3 double crochets into our chain 2 spot, and then chaining 2. So 3 double crochets into that spot and chain 2. Now we're going to slip stitch into our chain 3 on the top of our chain 3. Yep, and we're done. We could chain 1 and cut our yarn and pull through because we're fastening off. Now again, we're bringing back our red border color, and it is repetitive. We're going to go into our chain 1 spot, and we're going to work up a chain 3. Once we work up our chain 3, we're going to put 2 double crochets in that same spot, and then we're going to chain 1. We're going to go over to our next chain 1 spot. After we basically tuck our yarn, we're going to go over to our next chain 1 spot, that spot right there, and we're going to work 3 double crochets into that spot, and then we're going to chain 1. So now we're going to go to our chain 2 space and work our corner right into our corner, which is our chain 2 space. So we're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets back into that same spot. We're going to chain 1 after this last double crochet. And then we're going to go to our chain 1 space, and we're going to work 3 double crochets into that space. Chain 1 and repeat. Repeat the same thing going across the whole granny square. So as you see, we are in our last chain 1 space. We're going to chain 1 after we do our 3 double crochets, and we're going to work our corner, which is 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. And once we finish working that, we're going to chain 1 and work into the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch, chain 1 to cut our yarn and fasten off. And we made our diamond granny square. Yay! Our heart diamond granny square. So for our heart rose granny square, I'm going to really breeze past the floral heart, like the rose heart. I'm going to link the tutorial that I used to make this rose heart in the description and right here at the eyes. So click that to see how I made the rose heart if you want to make this type of granny square. And then come back to this video to see how I turned that rose heart into an actual granny square. So that tutorial that I'm linking below is just showing you how to make the rose heart. And when you come back, I'm going to show you how I turned it into a granny square. So at this point, things are going to become very familiar. So we're going to work into the tip of this heart rose with a slip stitch. Then we're going to work a single crochet, back loops only into the next stitch. Then we're going to work a half double crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch. Then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Then we're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch, a half double crochet into the next stitch, and 3 single crochets into the following 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. Now we're going to work 3 single crochets into the following 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to prepare ourselves to do a double crochet into the middle stitch. So find where you think the middle stitch is. I don't have an exact place to tell you, but I went right below where it dips. You see that little dip that creates the heart? I went right into that and I did me a double crochet. Now we need both sides to be even, so we need to work 3 single crochets, right? So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. Now for everybody it may be different. You may have to skip a few stitches to find where you're going to put your single crochets. But as you see, I'm counting down to see if my stitches are going to be even. So I worked the right amount in the right places. So I did my chain 2 and I'm going to work my 3 single crochets into the following 3 stitches. I'm going to work my half double crochet into the next stitch, my double crochet into the next stitch, my chain 2, my double crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next stitch, and single crochet into my last stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch right into that first slip stitch that we did. And we have our square into our rose. Now again, the repetitiveness, okay? This is like working a regular granny square in the beginning. We're going to slip stitch into that middle slip stitch spot. We're going to chain up 3, do our 2 double crochets in that same spot. We're going to find our middle piece for our sides, put our stitch marker. We're going to do the same for the other side, find the middle stitch, put our stitch marker. And we're going to repeat the process from our first granny square, the same process. We're going to do our corner. Then we're going to go into our stitch marker and we're going to do our 3 double crochets, chain 1. Then we're going to do our corner, Then we're going to chain 1 and do our 3 double crochets into our double crochet spot in the middle. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to do our corner. Then we're going to chain 1 and we're going to do our 3 double crochets and our last stitch marker on the other side. I bet all of this sound very familiar. So we're going to go ahead and breeze through this because you guys should already know how to do this by now. We did this in the last 2 squares so far. So we're going to go ahead and breeze right through this. The same for the border. We're going to work 3 chains up into our chain 1 space, 2 double crochets into that same spot, chain 1, do our corner, and repeat the process that we've been doing for the last 2 granny squares. So yeah, here we are towards the end. We're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 and chain 1, fasten off, pull the yarn through, and we're done with our rose heart granny square. Yay! Now for this rose granny square, you could follow this video or you could follow the video that I'll link below to show you how I did the rose. Now I just followed that video for the rose only, and I did my own thing for the green leaves that makes the granny square a square. So I chained 41 and I'm gonna work into that next chain with a single crochet. I'm going to chain 1, chain 2, and then I'm going to skip 1 chain stitch, and I'm going to work into the next one with a single crochet, chain 2, skip 1 stitch, work into the next one with a single crochet, and we're going to repeat this. So again, we're working into that stitch with a single crochet. We're going to chain 2, 1, 2, we're going to skip a stitch, and we're going to work a single crochet into the following stitch, and we're going to repeat this until we get towards the end. Now we're going to work into this last spot with a single crochet. We're going to chain up 2 and turn our work. So right into that chain 2 space, we're going to go ahead and work 3 double crochets in there. We're going to chain 1 and then we're going to slip stitch into that same spot. Now we're going to move over to our next chain 2 space. We're going to work a slip stitch in there. We're going to chain up 1. And then we're going to go to our next chain 2 space. We're going to work 3 double crochets. Chain 1. And then slip stitch into that same spot, and we're going to repeat this going forward. So we're going to chain 1, slip stitch into that same spot, go to our next chain 2 space. We're going to slip stitch into that space, chain up 1, and then we're going to double crochet into the following chain 2 space, and we're going to do this same repetition one more time until we have 4 petals of double crochets. So this will be our 4th one, and now we're going to work half double crochets. So 3 half double crochets, chain 1, slip stitch into that same spot, go to our next chain 2 space, slip stitch, chain 1, then work 3 half double crochets, and repeat that 3 more times. So that will be our second. Then we're going to work a third and a fourth. Now, as you can see, we have 4 double crochet petals, 1 2 3 4, and then we have 4 half double crochet petals, 1 2 3 4. Now we're going to work single crochet petals. So we're going to go into our next chain 2 space, and we're going to work 3 single crochets into that space. Chain 1, slip stitch into that same space, then move over to our next chain 2 space, do a slip stitch, chain up 1, move over to our last chain 2 space, do our 3 single crochets, chain 1, slip stitch into that same spot, and then slip stitch into that last stitch and chain off. And make sure when you cut your yarn it's long enough to sew this into a rose. So in order to get it into the rose that it needs to be, I'm just showing you that we have our single crochet petals, our 4 half double crochet petals, and our 4 double crochet petals. So we're going to roll this up into a circle, but we must make sure the back of the circle, the base, is flat. Our base needs to be flat in order for this to work. So we're going to roll it up and just make sure it stays nice and flat. As you can see, it's not raised or anything, it's nice and flat. And that's our rose in the front. So now we're going to go ahead and sew it, and I like to start from the middle and work our way out. It just helps me make sure that I have more control to keep it flat and nothing is like moving up and pushing out and anything like that. So you're going to go ahead and do that. You're going to work your way from the middle to outwards and outwards back to the middle around the circle. So you see how I'm going around, in and out, around. So now it's time to work our leaves to make our granny square, and we're going to go ahead and find any ridge of our previous stitches that we had. Find any ridge and we're going to work into that ridge, right? So we're going to pull our yarn through, slip stitch on like we normally do, and we're going to chain up 4. 1 2 3 4, and you could do 3, you could do 4. I think I did 3. And I'm going to work back into that same ridge stitch with a treble crochet. So I'm going to yarn over twice, and I'm going to pull through 2 times, but I'm not going to complete the treble. I'm going to yarn over 2 times again, pull through 1, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through all 3. Then I'm going to chain 3. 1 2 3 and I'm going to work another treble into that same spot. So I'm going to yarn over 2 times. I'm going to work our treble but not finish it. So I'm going to pull through 1, pull through 2, not finish it, work another treble, then we're going to pull through 04 and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's to you guys' discretion, right? We chained our 4 and we need to find where we're going to put our next leaf at, right? Our next cluster of treble crochets. Now I counted 3 stitches over, put a stitch marker, 3 stitches over, put a stitch marker, 3 stitches over, put a stitch marker. For yours, you may have more stitches, so you would count over until it's even. You have an even amount all around, and that's where you put your next leaves, but you need 4 cluster of leaves, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and work the same pattern, which we're going to do our cluster of 3 treble crochets. We're going to chain 3 and do another cluster of 3 treble crochets into the same stitch. And when we finish doing that, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're gonna find where our stitch marker was supposed to be, but mine fell out, so I counted over 3 and put my cluster of treble crochets into the 4th stitch. And I'm going to repeat this all the way around, and I'll meet y'all when I get to the end. So now I'm chaining up 4, and I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my chain 3. Go ahead and slip stitch and fasten off. So as you can see, it made a square. Yes, it made a square. I'm gonna link a video below on how I did the rose. I kind of did my own thing for the leaves, so there's no video I can link for that. So I hope you understood what I did just now. But we're gonna use our white now, and we're gonna do our chain 3. We're gonna start with our corner, and we're not gonna complete our corner, but our corner would be in our chain 3 spot, you know, in between our leaf cluster of trebles. And then we're gonna work 3 double crochets into our chain 4 space. Then we're gonna chain 1, and we're gonna work our corner into our chain 3 space, which is in between our cluster of treble crochets. And we're just going to repeat this all the way around. Corner, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1, corner, chain 1. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. So remember, our corner goes in between our trebles, our cluster of trebles, which is our chain 3 space. Our 3 double crochets just goes into our chain 4 space. So if you remember that, this process is really easy and you can knock it out because it is just a repetition of what we've been doing. So now we're at the end and we're going to finish our corner by putting 3 double crochets into that space with a chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3, and we're going to fasten off. Now you already know how to do the border, like we could just breeze past that. The border has been the same throughout this whole video. Let's go ahead and breeze past the border. So our rose granny square is complete, and we're gonna go ahead and finish making the rest of our granny squares. So for me, I made 65 granny squares.
So I finally finished all the squares. We got all of these bad boys. Now it's time to put them together.
So basically I have 18 red heart granny squares, 12 pink heart granny squares, and 16 white heart granny squares, 2 pink roses, 4 red roses, and 4 white roses, 4 red heart roses, 2 pink heart roses, and 2 white heart roses. And basically this is the finished result. And if you want to see how I put the squares together to make these pants, which is slimmer than the first pants that I made, and they would fit tighter, but I've lost weight, so sorry guys. But anyways, if you want to see how I put these together, watch part 2. Until next time, lovelies, later.